Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington, an original shark from the hit TV show Shark Tank. I'm also the inventor of the Infomercial and an As Seen on TV pioneer. Now, I am in the business of As Seen on TV. I take products and put them on TV, put them into digital, take them all around the world, and been involved with over 500 projects. People like Tony Little Fitness and Jack LaLanne in the kitchen and George Foreman, some amazing people. And I love helping people supercharge their product business as well as their entrepreneurial business. But I'm here to tell you that today's podcast with Dov Baron is really special. We had a great time. We talked about empowering entrepreneurs. We had a couple special tips, how to build your dream team, and how to deal with some special challenges in the world of finance inside your business. So I'm going to recommend you check out this podcast. It's amazing. Dov and I had a lot of chemistry, and you're going to learn a few things along the way. So stay tuned. Check it out. Kevin Harrington here, the Shark. Thank you.
Congratulations! You are tuned into Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Show, the #1 podcast for Fortune 500 executives and those who are dedicated to creating a quantum leap in leadership. Your host, Dov Baron, is the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. He's an executive mentor to leaders like you, a contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine, CEO World, and he's been featured on CNN, Fox, CBS, and many other notable sites. Dov Baron is an international business speaker who was named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers to hire. Now, over to Dov Baron.
Welcome, dear friends, fans, and fellow aficionados of leadership excellence. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips, part of the Full Monty interview series. I'm your host, Dov Baron. I'm the founder of Full Monty Leadership, and I'm here to assist you tapping into your deep greatness so you can reach that next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. Today, we'll be taking an insider look at innovation, and knowing how far to push it, you want to swim with the sharks. Remember, you can now chat about this episode or any of the other past episodes on our Facebook page by going to Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Podcast group on Facebook. If you're a new listener, new viewer, thank you for joining us. Strap yourself in. We're about to go full Monty. Remember, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you tune into your podcast. And remember, we always need your help in staying relevant, so please get yourself over to iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe to the show. When you do so, go to that Facebook page, Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Podcast, and tell us that you did the review, and we'll give you a shout out live on the program. You can also catch us across traditional radio stations across the United States every Monday and Thursday, all the way from Las Vegas to Philadelphia. If you're a regular listener, big thank you to you for making us the #1 podcast globally for Fortune 500 listeners, with a potential reach of 2.5 to 4 million listeners for every show. We are honored and grateful to be cited by Inc.com as the #1 podcast to make you a better leader. And by the way, you can now catch us on Google Home and Alexa. Simply say, play Dov Baron Podcast. Again, thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. All right, let's strip it down, dive right in. As a leader, whether you're a CEO, C-suite leader, sales leader, entrepreneurial leader in any capacity, you probably know that to get yourself and your organization to the top, you have sometimes got to put it all on the line. But how much information is enough, and how much, for that matter, is too much? For instance, if you had to create a short 3-minute infomercial of what it is you or your company do to get the big boys and girls to invest, could you do it? Well, stay tuned because you're about to find out. Our guest on this episode is Kevin Harrington. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the Infomercial, an original shark on the Shark Tank, and also the pioneer of As Seen on TV. Kevin is one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. By the early 1980s, Kevin Harrington was busy launching companies, working as both real estate and business brokers, selling thousands of properties and thousands of businesses. By 1990, Kevin was named as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in the world by Entrepreneur Magazine. He is regularly featured as an industry expert on numerous media outlets, including The Today Show, Good Morning America, CBS, Good Morning News, CNBC, The Squawk Box with Jim Kramer, Bloomberg, Fox Business, CNN, Fast Company, Fortune, across the board. In 2009, Kevin Harrington was selected as one of the original sharks on the Shark Tank, which, of course, as you're probably aware of, is an ABC Emmy-Award winning show. His episodes can currently be seen on CNBC. Please put your hands together and welcome the original shark himself, Kevin Harrington.
What an intro. Fantastic. Thank you, Dov. I tell you what, I've never had one like that before. That was powerful. I like that.
It's good to have you on, man. You and I, we were chatting about this before we started recording, but you and I had met originally about 8 years ago through some mutual friends at a conference, and we were hanging out together. It was for people in our world.
Yeah.
And, it was very interesting because there was already a buzz around you then, and I think, what year was it Shark Tank took off?
Shark Tank, I got the phone call in 2008, and then 2009 we started filming. So that's about 9 years ago. But
right.
Yeah, so 8 years ago we would have just been getting it off the ground.
Right. But there was already a buzz.
It took a while for Shark Tank to get a little bit of a buzz, but it's been an amazing format. And Mark Burnett is one of the smartest guys in television for sure, right? Yeah. So he owns The Voice, The Survivor. He did all those shows with they called The Contender, and with Sylvester Stallone and Donald Trump and the Survivor show. I mean, big stuff. And Shark Tank has been. They now have all these celebrity sharks. Richard Branson and Alex Rodriguez from the Yankees, and of course Mark Cuban has been a shark, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's all over, and it's done really
cool
well.
To be associated with such an esteemed group of people.
Indeed. Now, I said that you were the inventor of the Infomercial. Tell the story of how that happened.
So it goes back to the early '80s, and I was sitting at home. I had just ordered cable television, so you have to kind of put yourself in my shoes, because I'm at that time, and this goes back 35 years ago.
When you were 7.
Yeah, I wish, but a couple years older. But I was watching CNN 24 hours of. I just got CNN, MTV, music, ESPN, 24 hours of sports. I got to the Discovery Channel, and there was nothing on the screen. They had these colored bars up. And so I called the cable company thinking there was a problem with the transmission. And I said, look, I'm getting all the channels except for Discovery. And they said, Discovery is only an 18-hour-a-day channel. 6 hours a day, we put up colored bars because we don't have programming. And that's when the light bulb went off. What can I fill that time with? Unused time is, someone else's adversity is an entrepreneur's profit. And so much like today, they fill the hotel rooms with hotels.com and Priceline filling airplane seats, et cetera. We started filling the downtime on cable TV back in the early 80s. So I was putting products on, and Tony Little Fitness and Jack LaLanne Juicers and George Foreman. And all of a sudden, I built a business that had hundreds of employees, billions of dollars in sales. And because we took it around the world. Let's just talk about that for a minute, because, this is, we get you're a brilliant entrepreneur, but whenever an entrepreneur enters into something, particularly in not their world, they bang up against something. So, you're banging up against these broadcast companies who are going, nah, listen, dude, we're not letting you on. We're professionals. We make shows, and we'd rather have the bars for 6 hours than have you come on and do some amateur hour stuff on there. How did you get past, punch a hole through that wall? Because that's often a thing that happens. We actually, I was sitting in England with a big TV company, and that's exactly what they said is, we don't want this American way of selling. It's hard sell. It's hardcore. Our viewers aren't going to like it, and we're just not interested. So I went home, rethought my strategy, and then I came back and I wrote them a check in the next meeting for $500,000. and I put it in front of them and said, okay, so I had a lot of time to think about it. I did some research and I see how many people you've got, how many homes you're in. And this is a check I'd like to give you for the first month of our relationship. And they said, what do you mean the first month? I said, I'm going to give you a check for $500,000 every single month. And then they said, well, oh, wait a minute. Let us take this into consideration. Okay. And by the way, the check was post-dated that I wrote them because I said, now, once they finally said, let's do this, I said, don't cash that check because I'll get you one that will be, because I've had that much faith, though, in the fact that we were going to create something very powerful. And by the way, we paid them over $8 million that first year. So it was more than $500,000 a month, figured out to be about $650,000 a month they were making from me taking their downtime just in England. And overnight I became their largest advertiser, bigger than Coke, Pepsi, you name it. We wrote more checks than anybody else. Because
so just tell me for a minute, Kevin, what, because, you probably bumped into that and realized that, you're flicking through the channels at 2:00 in the morning. I mean, how do you work out, and this is because it's good for people to understand, how did you work out that there's not only 12 of us, who are up at 2:00 in the morning, and what's more, 12 people with a credit card who would want to buy? Because, we obviously know that prime time is prime time, and you don't think 3 a.m. is prime time to sell stuff.
Exactly. Well, so the way first of all, we structured our deals in the very beginning based on percentages of sales. Right. So at the end of the day, if you're paying somebody 15% of whatever you bring in, if I bring in only $100, I'm going to give you 15. If I bring in 1,000, you get 150. But I was bringing in literally millions of dollars, and they were getting a lot because this is the thing. The station in England that we picked up, they actually went off the air at 6 p.m. And because they didn't want to compete against the BBC News. So they thought, we have to be respectful to the BBC. Everybody in the country is going to be watching the news. Well, guess what? Maybe most of the people were, but the 15% of the people that weren't loved watching our infomercials, and we were crushing it at these hours because that's prime time. 6 p.m. to run an infomercial. Now, we did 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and 5 a.m., and the sales were very small. But we had some good times also. So it was, and at the end of the day, once they saw they were getting a lot of money, they were trying to free up. Well, what if we gave you this block over here and this? Because they realized the more they run us, the more they make.
That's amazing. It's amazing. So tell us about how your business was used as a class case study for many years, I believe, at Harvard and MIT.
Yes. So one day I don't know how the word got out, but I think it came through. I was one of the original co-founders of the Entrepreneurs organization, EO. And there's chapters all over the world, Vancouver, England, India, you name it. We're in 150 cities. And so I think EO saw my meteoric growth. I mean, we did 55 million our first year, and then we went to 85, then 150, then 300. This thing was taking off. So I got a phone call from Babson University, and it's an entrepreneurial college. And they said, hey, we do case studies on companies. We'd love to talk to you about doing a case study on what you're doing. And can we send some students down, cut a deal with them? Over 6 months, they sent these teams of students in who followed us around, ups, the downs. By the way, we had plenty of action all during the process. They got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly because we gave them full access to the internal workings of what we were doing. And there was some amazing things that were happening, both positive and negative, but we survived it all. And make a long story short, it became very powerful education for entrepreneurs around the world. And the number of people that that was taught at MIT and Harvard for about 13 years annually. And I'm very proud to say that because of that, they've done a few other case studies since this program, but invariably the people come back and say that the rise, the fall, and the rise of Kevin Harrington was a lot of fun. That's for sure.
So what was the fall?
Well, during the process of them being there, we were growing so fast, the bank pulled our merchant account. And so I was doing $2 million a week in sales, and we were rolling that 2 million every week to week. And so I didn't start in the business wealthy. I was an entrepreneur with no money when I started, like $25,000. I leveraged 25 grand into $100 million business very quickly. But that 2 million a week was my cash flow, and it was profits sitting there that I rolled week to week to week. Bought inventory, bought media. And one day the bank said, you're growing pretty fast. We want a little extra security. Instead of us depositing your sales, because they cashed our credit cards and then put the money into our operating account. And one week they said, we're just going to grab that 2 million because we have the right to. And they just figured we had just tens of millions of dollars. Like, who were we? Were we some big jewelry company just making a fortune or something? They literally put us out of business. I couldn't make payroll, and we couldn't buy inventory, and we ended up having to do some very crazy things to get through that mess. So, just imagine one day, literally they took it out of our account.
Because leaders, entrepreneurs particularly, have been faced with those things. I know I've done those things where PayPal put a stop on, and they just, they hold your money, or one of the merchant gates do the same thing. So tell us how you get your head around that, because I'm sure we've got entrepreneurial leaders watching, listening, who are going, in this moment, that shit's happening to me.
Right. They
just closed my business because I'm doing too well. Because that's really what it is.
Exactly.
How do you get your head around that?
So, in the first thing that I thought of is there's no way they can do this. And I found out there was, because we signed papers that allowed them to. Because you're getting a merchant account, they put a stack of papers about this thick in front of you, sign these, and boom, tells them that they can do anything they want. But so, at the end of the day, it was negotiating that we had to do. But this is what came out of all of this, is I had a dozen products that we were running at that time. We had one of those items that was causing some problems, and that was what alerted the bank. They had this one item that was excessively generating high returns. We had a problem with the manufacturing. We had some extra defects coming from the factory, and we were giving the people their money back, but a lot of people go right to the bank and complain, right? So the first line of defense in a case like that is offense, right? Hey, to the bank, charge it back. So this started this alarm inside the bank. So now what we did is we said, look, let us set up every product as a separate business. We need every product became a separate merchant account, because, hey, look, if we had a bad merchant account for one of those 12, shut that merchant account down. Don't shut down my whole business because I have one bad product, right? So we learned, we've got a lot smarter, and to this day, it made us a stronger company in the process. So I've actually not had merchant problems since those days, and that was back in the early 90s. I know a lot of people that have a lot of merchant problems today. And we've weathered a lot of storms, and of course, I'm in a lot different financial position today than I was back in the early 90s also. Sure. So, we made a lot of money over the years. So it's given us the credibility that we need with our banking source.
That's good insight. Let's sort of change direction a little bit. One of the things that I personally love, not particularly a show, but I love the auditions for American Idol.
Yeah.
Because I see people get up there and actually can bring me to tears, because these people put everything on the line. They pour their heart out, and sometimes Sometimes they are bad. Sometimes they appear to be bad because they're so nervous, and sometimes they're spectacular.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what they're doing on Shark Tank with their idea, their product, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Why do you think people, I mean, aside from wanting somebody to invest, which is obvious, just like you go on American Idol because you want the judges to give you the yes. But why do you think people want to be on Shark Tank? Why do you think they want to put it all really out there?
Couple reasons. First of all, this is the funny thing. When I met Mark Burnett and he said, I want you to be a shark. And I said, what's a shark? And he said, people are going to come out. They're going to give you a pitch in 3 minutes. And you have 3 minutes from there to ask questions and make up your mind whether or not you're going to invest in their idea. And I said, Mark, you might think that I'm going to say this is going to be very difficult, right? He says, yeah, I've talked to dozens of potential sharks, and they're all saying this is very tough to be able to make that kind of decision. I said, I've been doing that for 25 years, Mr. Mark Burnett. And he said, really? I said, what do you mean? I said, I go to the hardware show, the houseware show, the fitness show, the golf show, the beauty show. I take pitches and they pitch me. I don't even give them 3 minutes. Sometimes I give them 1 or 2 minutes, and I either green light it, red light it, or say, I need more information. And most of them get a red light, but I green light quite a few, and we get a lot more information from a bunch. I've done this thousands of times, and I've financed over 500 of these deals. So this is what I do. Now, so people that are in business that need money, they've got to go out and pitch. Who are they going to pitch to? They got to pitch to investors. Now, the advantage of Shark Tank is they're not only pitching to people that can give them the money, but they're getting brand recognition and awareness on national television, on ABC network, in front of tens of millions of people, potentially. And by the way, every show that gets shot reruns on ABC, plus on CNBC, plus around the world. And
Right.
so this is an amazing fact that these people are getting all of this exposure. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, because even if you, I mean, I remember reading about somebody who'd gone on Shark Tank and it got rejected, but has actually become very successful, and it was mostly because of the exposure. I mean, so it's a great insight. What you said you've invested in like 500, I think you said, products.
Yes. Yeah, more than that now.
What was the worst one you ever financed?
Well, I financed a bunch of losers for sure. Okay, many more losers than winners. Okay, so I mean,
part of the course, right?
It is. I mean, look, if I've hit on 1 out of 3, maybe 1 out of 4 of the projects, and this is the thing. I say fail small, lose a little, but so that when you make one that works, make a lot. So because making a lot has to pay for all the losers. But I'll give you one that was a little crazy. We used to deal with a lot of celebrities. We still do, but we had, George Foreman, Jack LaLanne, Tony Little. We had, many, Suzanne Summers. So one day, Chubby Checker, who created the twist,
and I remember Chubby Checker.
He came to me with a fitness product that involved music, and it's like, hey, we're going to give people a way to have fun when they work out, and this and that. And so, by the way, when I first met Chubby, he said, I'm going to lose 50 pounds between now and the time we shoot the show using my product, which he called the Twisticizer. And it was a $500 machine. And so there was a lot of issues that we should have figured out. This is not the first one being, if a man named Chubby walks in your office to do a fitness product, you better say no. Okay.
There's a bit of a brand discrepancy here.
Yeah,
your name is Chubby.
Right? Buy a fitness product from a man named Chubby. All right. And so we were, it was, I won't even tell you all the things that happened. Chubby got a little difficult to deal with. I don't like to bash anybody, so let's not even go there. Let's just say a $500 twisting fitness product was not in the cards, bombed. I lost $500,000 on that project. So, I mean, I had many others that I lost hundreds of thousands on. Some, today I try to lose much smaller dollars because $500,000 is a lot of money to invest in something.
So let me ask you, Kevin, what drives you? What is it not only that drives you, but particularly what is it that drives you on a shitty day? So when you've done that, when you've had a $500,000 loss the night before and you get up the next morning, what is it drives you, particularly on a crappy day?
Well, so the beauty of my business is, as bad as yesterday was, today is going to be golden, because every single day, all I have to do is open my eyes, and I've got 150 emails of people pitching me the next deal. Okay, so and now I may go through 140 to find the one that I like, but there isn't a day that goes by that I don't find something that I find is exciting and interesting and new. And so I can't take on everything that I see, but the reality is this, is I'm in the business of, it's sort of like if you're an investment banker and you're a venture capitalist, not everything's going to hit, but every now and then you're going to get the Uber, you're going to get the Amazon, you're going to get involved with a Jeff Bezos or somebody that is going to just go to the moon. I got involved with Tony Little. My first show did $350 million. And
right.
So I only invested $18,000 to get back $350 million. So
I would like some of those returns, please.
Yeah,
I would like those returns.
All right. I mean, if I lost a little bit, I lost a little bit yesterday, but it's going to come back tomorrow. So now in the beginning, it was hard. I didn't realize, sometimes I felt I'm done. I've had 7 in a row that bombed, because even though I say I'm 1 out of 3, I might go through 18 losers.
Yeah.
To get
and then you get
the next 3 to become winners. And so, there's many a day, a year that I went through where I'm thinking, I lost it. I don't have the touch anymore. And so that's when you have to, you got to go to I always see, in the old days, I tried to do it all myself. Now I've surrounded myself with a dream team, and I say, guys, what are we doing wrong? What do we need to do? We need to step this up. We need to take it to the next level and get into some new blood here, because we're striking out. We're not hitting our stride. And then we pick up the momentum and we get rolling with it again. So it's fail fast, fail cheap.
That's interesting.
And be ready for those big winners.
When for me, I've been doing this 34 years too. So I've been doing this a long time, and I've worked with a lot of high-level leaders individually and with their companies. And one of the things I'm certain of is that the greatest leaders are the people who are working on themselves. They're growing themselves, not just their businesses, but they're growing themselves. You've been highly successful for a very long time, and you're still growing. What is it about yourself that you're still working on, Kev?
Well, one of the things I try to do, and before we started the show, I told you I took a couple vacations this summer and that kind of thing, because for me, it's easy to get wrapped up and just always be going. I've got a family, I've got a wife, I've got children, I've got other people that need me. And it's at one point in my life, I was literally working 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And I never burned out, but you can lose some of the closest people around you, and you need to learn how to even things out. So you got to live a balanced life. And so you've got to have, I wasn't healthy. I decided I want to live a long time, right? My father lived till he was a week shy of 93 years old. And when he hit about 80, he said, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have started taking care of myself a lot sooner. Okay. Better. Right.
Yeah.
And so, when I hit 50, that's what I said. And
right.
So here I am, I've had my first 30 years I spent trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I found infomercials in my late 20s. And then I spent the next 30 some years doing what I've done, infomercials, and building billion-dollar brands and businesses. And now I'm going to spend the next 30 years empowering people, entrepreneurs, to be the best they can be, and then deciding on which ones of those maybe I'll help and get involved with in some fashion. But I'm also just helping take a percentage of what I do and just give back to the world. And that's part of my roots of Entrepreneurs Organization, that was a nonprofit that I started back in 1987 that has helped hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs become better entrepreneurs. And that's really what I want to do my next 30 years, is to empower entrepreneurs to be the best they can be.
What do you think the soul of entrepreneurship is?
The soul? Wow, that's a good question. The soul of a good entrepreneur is to be an honest entrepreneur, number one, and be in deals that are good for the other side also. And I think the best way to say it is, one of my mentors was Zig Ziglar. And Zig, his biggest line in his life was, you can get everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And when I started EO in 1987, that was what I set out to do, was to help entrepreneurs get what they want. And now it's helped me get what I want. And I think if you start with the right mentality, it comes back to you in the end run.
That's a great answer.
Thanks.
As we finish up, as we come to the end of the show, tell us, I would like for you to give our listeners, our viewers, one piece of practical advice, something they can go do, preferably in the next 24 hours, but certainly the next few working days, that they can put into action to really bring home what your message of what you've shared with us today. Yep.
Great. So I had, a few years ago, I got a call from a 26-year-old entrepreneur who had just moved to the area. And he said, Kevin, you don't know me. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been following you for years before I moved to this area, but I just moved to this area, and I'd love to buy you a nice steak dinner. And I need some advice. And I know you're busy and you probably don't have the time, but do you remember when you were 26 and you just had a burning need in your business to get a push or a nudge in the right direction? And if you'd be so kind, I would just greatly appreciate it. And the way he approached me took me, off guard. And I went ahead and did it. And I've been an advisor to this gentleman ever since. So I'm going to tell people, you need a dream team. You need a board of advisors. You need people to help you. And here, now I'm a shark. I'm on Shark Tank, and I'm advising this entrepreneur. And by the way, just before this podcast, I was on a call with a new team that I just joined their board of advisors. I'm shooting a video. I'm shooting 2 videos for them. I'm going to do a Skype call for all their salespeople at their office. I'm putting out a press release, and I'm joining their team of advisors. I'm going to be involved with them in a financial manner also, investing in this and that. But the point is that anybody listening right now can get to somebody to be on their team without paying them a dime if you approach them the right way. So start with 1, start with 2, start with 3. And I mean, Dov, I'm going to say this. You've got a lot of people listening out there. Maybe there's somebody out there listening right now that would like for me to give them a little shot like this and give them a quick little phone call, some words of wisdom. I'm going to offer you that. It's a short call, but because I'm crazy busy, but let's offer it to one of your listeners, and they're going to get me. Just give them a couple words of wisdom. And this is because you've got a great crowd out there, and I know you're going to figure out a good way to select somebody that really deserves it and needs it. And I'm going to give them that little bit of push, hopefully, to take them to the next level.
Wow,
and
that's very generous.
I love doing.
That's very generous.
And so you tell that folks, anybody out there can do it. They just got to ask.
That's
and
awesome.
There's a way to ask. Got to learn how to give a good pitch, by the way. So I say, if you can learn how to pitch, you can get a good team of advisors to join you.
That's fabulous. Thank you, sir. That was awesome. Listen, we got to go. I want to thank you for being on the show. Really been a pleasure and honor to having you here. Thank you so much. And I'm going to say this as I always say to our viewers and listeners, don't just listen. Listen once, listen twice, take some notes, pay attention, because listen, information's worth the whole in a donut. It means nothing unless you put it into action. Kev, please tell our guests, our viewers, our listeners, where they can find out more about you and all the wonderful resources that you have.
It's simple. My name's Kevin Harrington. Go to kevinharrington.tv. KevinHarrington.TV. That's me on TV, but it's KevinHarrington.TV. It's a website. I got some free books, some free downloads, all kinds of cool stuff, free gifts to give away. So
awesome.
Great being with you here, Dov, and thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to speaking with that one that you pick. Hopefully you get a good one.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Well, we'll make sure that all that information is put into the show notes, and we'll definitely get it out there. So again, just I hope you'll stay with us to the end, and we'll just say goodbye to everybody else. I want to thank you, dear listeners. Remember, you can chat about this show or any of our previous shows by going to Facebook and going to the Dov Baron Leadership and Loyalty page right there on Facebook. And remember that the research consistently shows that one of the biggest challenges facing the most successful companies is somewhat counterintuitive, in that these fast-growing companies often hit a point where they realize they're spending a fortune training, attracting, and developing their talent, only to have them leave at an alarming rate. If you're sick of investing in training and developing your talent, only have them leave before you get your ROI, come talk to us at fullmontyleadership.com, where we provide you with the essential leadership skills to rekindle and amplify the hidden loyalty assets inside of your organization by tapping into purpose. Also, remember, you can go stop by the Matrix, matrix.fullmontyleadership.com, and get your Authentic Leadership Matrix self-assessment tool. It's valued at $197. It's absolutely free to you for tuning in. Remember, you can find us on Alexa and Google Play. Just say, play Dov Baron Podcast. I want to thank you for sharing the show with everyone you know. Till next time, this is Dov Baron saying, stay curious, my friends. Stay curious about who you need on your team. I'm Dov Baron. I'm here to assist you tapping into your deep greatness to reach the next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. And I am out.